We welcome you to the funeral of this 2022-2023 Michigan basketball team. I see Carter didn't get the memo. I am wearing black to pay my respects to this horrible basketball team. And complimentary Diet Cokes were handed out at the door at 8:45 in the morning this Friday morning. To you, Juwan Howard. To you, Hunter Dickinson. Just get me to next year, man. I mean, this team's broken. Car 63-61 loss to Central Michigan. This has to be the lowest it can go, right?
Actually, I'm a little off guard right now. Let me prepare. I didn't know I was talking about Michigan first, but if we're going to be discussing some fairly smelly programs here, you might as well plug it up a little bit. Yeah, you guys are toast. There is no bouncing back from this. There's no where do we go from here? This is what we call rock bottom. Okay, this is that low point of Bikini Bottom in that SpongeBob episode. This is dangerous, losing to directional schools at home territory after having a shitty season. This is how you're ending your 2022, by losing to Central Michigan at home.
Ugh. I mean, that hurts.
Central Michigan is not good.
Not only are they not good, they played horrible last night. Like it's a thing in college basketball where bad teams show up and just play well. And like maybe the better team has a stinker and you can kind of write it off of like, oh, that was weird. No, Central Michigan was horrible last night. They shot 6 for 29 from 3-point range. They had 20 fouls. They had 14 turnovers. They played horrendous and they beat Michigan because Michigan was even worse. And it's hard to square. I don't know. I've sort of spent I spent last night getting a bunch of jokes off on Twitter and trying to turn it into content to hide my sorrows. And then I slept on it, dreamt on it, woke up this morning trying to figure out what angle I was going to go with here. It's horrible. It really is. And I think there's a lot of really serious conversations to be had about Juwan Howard and how he's running this right now and how it's going to get worse. Like I'm much more interested in the big picture conversation than I am the small short-term this season conversation, because this team's toast, like you said. However, I would preface all of that by saying Michigan was 7-5 through 12 games last year. They made the Sweet 16. They are 7-5 this year. It's a little different. I understand that.
It's a lot different.
I understand that. I'm going to say how I feel on this episode, but I just want to it's a little early to be like, this coach is horrible. It's done. We just don't know how the season's going to end up. Right. And I think this year is different and we can talk about that. Like last year, Michigan, their worst loss was UCF on the road, which was, or maybe it was at home. I don't remember, but UCF's nowhere near as bad of a loss as Central Michigan is. Also this year, Michigan has no quad one wins right now. Like they're not even close to being on the bubble right now. And last year, I think they were always on the bubble, even at the lowest of lows. But yeah, where do we start with this, Cart? Because I do think there's like big picture Juwan Howard stuff that I'd like to talk about. And then I think there's short term, this team, why are they so bad stuff. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the actual team short term and kind of why they're so bad. I also want to preface this by saying your team is currently in the high 80s on all, Ken Palm, Torvik, all that good stuff. High 80s.
Can I say, actually, before we do the short term thing, can I say one thing? One thing. I want Michigan State fans to enjoy this. I want them to dunk on Michigan.
Well, part of my point was that you guys are winning on January 7th.
Oh, wow. I wasn't ready for that.
That's happening.
I still think it's likely that these two teams split, just for the record, but I think it's because both teams are pretty bad. But this is Michigan State's clearly better than Michigan, and they have a coach who is tremendous and will get the best out of his team, where Michigan has a coach who has not proven to do that at all yet. Unless it's the NCAA tournament, then maybe he does. But here's my problem. Michigan State fans, I want them to dunk on this. Of course, you lose to a directional school, you let that happen. Michigan State fans are kind of talking like they're not currently 11th on Torvik in the Big Ten right now. Like, it makes me so sad to just look at like the advanced metrics on these teams. Michigan is the second worst team in the Big Ten, only ahead of Minnesota. Michigan State's the fourth worst team in the Big Ten, only ahead of Nebraska, Michigan, and Minnesota. Like, both of these schools are worse than Northwestern, according to the advanced metrics right now. Yeah. So let's just let's do a little, you can dunk on us for sure. That's fair. I think you should. I just want Michigan State fans to remember, like, Madi Sissoko is your starting center, and your seventh best player is Jason Whitens. All right, continue. Go ahead, Cart.
You lost to a team full of Jason Whitens and Madi Sissoko's last
I know. I'm not making excuses. I just this got the Spartan fans coming out talking like they're like Rutgers right now. Like, let's slow down. You're not Rutgers this year. You're Michigan State.
All right, let's dive into the dumpster fire that is this team. And
I'm chugging a Diet Coke at 9. This is the saddest moment of my life. I'm chugging a Diet Coke at 9 a.m. on a Friday while you just eviscerate my program. Go ahead.
There's not much to eviscerate. It kind of is where it is. The thing is, when stuff like this happens, you kind of like to see like what the direction is and like how your team can bounce back from this. I think you touched on it. Them being 7-5 is kind of where they were at last year. Was that if I
7-5
correctly?
Correct.
So, okay. Yeah. But with last year's team, just even though I don't want to compare it kind of apples to apples, like I could see last year's team and kind of the direction they could go. Like I thought that I could, even though they were 7-5, I could kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel with that team. With this one, I just don't see it. I mean, last year's team was bad defensively. This team is even worse. That one clip that you put onto your Twitter that had like 4 minutes left in the game in the second half, and that communication, that was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen in my life. Like, if anything, when you're in those situations, the last 4 minutes or after that second to last media timeout, maybe that's when guys snap into it and you don't have communication breakdowns in January about what guy you're matching up with and getting back to on defense. So it's just like, I don't know. And the worst part about all this is that Kobe Buffkin's playing well.
He's playing great. He's playing phenomenal.
Kobe Buffkin is playing great, and we're wasting it. It's funny. The conversation was, how's this Michigan team gonna waste Hunter Dickinson, the All-American? And the person that's getting wasted right now is Kobe Buffkin's play.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not an overreaction or an exaggeration to say that Kobe Buffkin has been the best player on this team for 3 straight games. But I also think like you're seeing the results of a team who has Kobe Buffkin as their best player. Like, this is I've done this in Michigan State. Like, if AJ Hoggard's your best player, you're probably a pretty bad team. If Kobe Buffkin's your best player, you're in dogfights against MAC schools right now. And I don't mean that as a shot to Kobe, because I think long-term Kobe's going to be a very high-quality Big Ten player. He's not fully there yet, even though he's played great in the last 3 weeks. Like, he needs to be the third best guy on this team. He has to be if this team's going to go anywhere. Hunter Dickinson and Jet Howard have to be the high pedigree guys that they are. Hunter needs to be an all-conference guy. Jet Howard needs to be an NBA first-round pick. And they're not right now. And that leads you to a game against Lipscomb was tied with 5 minutes left. Like, in North Carolina, they blow a 7-point early lead and they were down 10 most of that game. Central Michigan was a dogfight from start to finish. You lose it. Like, it's really it's baffling, but it's also not when you step back and like look at it, because I like, let's just go from last year to this year. They downgraded at every position except for Hunter Dickinson, and Hunter didn't get better, but like Devontae Jones is miles better than whatever point guard you're playing this year, whether it was healthy Llewellyn or freshman Doug. And I love freshman Doug, but like Devontae Jones was going out and getting you 12, 6, and 6 a night on his bad nights. He was productive. Eli Brooks, I mean, you've heard me complain about Eli for forever. He was a very limited player, but at least he was going to be in the right spot, anchor the defense, communicate, and make 40% from 3. Like you knew what you were getting from him every single night. Whereas Kobe, he looks great the last 3 games, but I mean, he had a whole month of the season where he shot 15% from 3. People could argue Jet Howard's an upgrade from Caleb Houston, but I mean, Caleb was a 40% shooter from 3 who was not nearly as bad as Jet is defensively. And
which is crazy.
It is crazy.
Caleb was bad defensively.
It is crazy. Jet is the worst college defender I've ever seen. Ever. Other than it's him or Pierre Brooks. One of the two. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you do with Jet. Jet played 38 minutes last night. And I want to get to more on that in a second with something Juwan said in the post game that really bothered me. But yeah, then you go from Moose at the 4 to Terrence Williams, and everybody acted like that was going to be an upgrade. Terrence Williams should be coming off the bench for VCU next year at this rate. So I don't know. I don't know what you do. I don't think anyone should be that surprised. Like that's what happened. They were a bubble team last year with all those guys. They downgraded at every position. That's not even to talk about the bench. I mean, last year, these guys were coming off the bench last year. Terrence Williams and Kobe Buffkin. Like, this year's team has nothing off the bench. Who? Will Shetter? Will Shetter got you 1 and 3 last night, and everybody's really excited about that. Like that was a good development. I don't know.
Will Shetter.
I don't know what you do, man. I don't. I do think that's the difference. Like I guess to your point, although last year during the season, it never felt like there was a moment where like, oh, I can see what this team could be. Like I was pretty surprised even at the end when they started to win a couple games. I don't think that's going to happen this year just because I think Hunter's checked out. I don't know how you watch Hunter the last 3 games and tell me that man wants to be here right now. Like, which isn't the craziest thing. Like it's the NIL era. There's a lot of guys who have quote unquote gotten some money to come back that probably are mentally ready to move on. But there's a Hunter Dickinson conversation to be had. You know, I've made comments about it throughout his whole career of like, you just watch the body language stuff. You watch how he interacts with teammates in non-basketball settings. Like we heard from some people on the overseas trip that like Hunter brought his girlfriend and didn't hang out with the team at all. Like Hunter, if he's the heart of your team, personality wise, your team probably hates each other. And right now he's checked out on the floor, probably off the floor as well. He didn't hit the podium after this game. He's supposed to be the voice of this team. The only person who was accountable after the game to talk about it with the media was Jace Howard. So I don't know what
I mean, I kind of want to circle back while we're on this topic, Greg, because we talked about this to start the season when we were kind of going through Michigan's like preview. We knew that Hunter Dickinson was a 20-10 guy. And I think what we talked about and kind of the point that I was trying to make when we did a Michigan preview is that it's not a step basketball wise that he needs to take. It's more so of not him even ditching the villain role, but more so being a leader on this basketball team and doing some things as far as leadership wise, and maybe even in some aspects sacrificing. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but sacrificing for the better of the team. And I just don't think that he's done that this year. I mean, he's had big games, but I mean, like you said, you can't say he's not checked out. Like it's kind of obvious. Now whether that's, you know, him just being upset with like what's going on, because I mean, Greg, you know me, I'm low key a big checkout guy.
You've been known to check out every now and then.
I've been known to check out every now and then, and even I would be like, this is some bullshit. Like I'm losing at home to West. I'm losing at home to Central. I'm in dog fights with Lipscomb. I get dog walked by a childhood friend in North Carolina. Like this, like I came back for this. Like yeah. As bad as it is, I also don't like blame him, I guess.
No, it's fair. It's fair because yeah, I think you would need to be a special kind of player and leader to not check out given the circumstances. And this is year 2. You know, I guess last year Hunter was pretty vocal and upset about like this team's not built well around me. It's not the type of fit that I need to be successful, right? And then all offseason the intent was they're going to go replace the guys who didn't fit with guys who fit better. The problem is the guys they got don't fit better. And I don't think they failed in trying to find guys that fit better. I just think like the evaluations were wrong and it didn't work out. And Hunter has not been as vocally critical of his own teammates this year, but I think Hunter thought on paper this team was going to be better, and he's come to the realization that they're not. And that's probably a very defeating feeling for a guy who didn't have to be here, right? Like he wasn't going to be in the NBA, and you can make jokes about that, but he would have gone and had a successful Cassius Winston overseas career right now. Like there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But I'm just frustrated because like, look, you've been on teams at a bunch of different levels. I've only played through high school, right? But I can speak to this genuinely. The most toxic type of teams that I've ever seen or coached at the high school level have been teams where no matter what goes wrong, the coaches feel like they're hamstrung and have to play the same 5 guys 35 minutes no matter what. Because then there's no accountability. There's no like, oh, even if the effort sucks today, what are we going to do? Bring a sub in instead of Jet Howard? Like, and then the bench guys are sitting there like, well, these dudes aren't trying. These dudes aren't communicating. They aren't guarding. Like, why am I here? And that's genuinely what I think you have with this Michigan team right now is like, you've got Terrace Reed and Isaiah Barnes and Will Shetter, who are young guys who shouldn't be in a rotation. But I don't know how they look at what the starters are doing right now and feel okay that they're getting 6 minutes a game. Because Will Shetter did come in and bust his ass yesterday. And like Juwan Howard, this is how low this program is right now. Juwan Howard hit the podium after the game and literally said, this is the first time all season that someone's played so hard they've asked to come out for a breather. And he was giving Will Shetter credit for that. Like, you just, if you're at a point where you're praising dudes, end of the bench dudes for playing hard, but you're still not getting them minutes, like that doesn't square up for me. After the Shetter thing, he made mention of Isaiah Barnes. Isaiah Barnes played 4 minutes in this game, Cart. He was 0 for 2 from 3. He had 2 rebounds in 4 minutes. And Juwan Howard made mention of him, gave him a shout out at the podium and said, Isaiah Barnes had a great 4 minutes. If he was a point guard, I wouldn't have been able to take him out of the game. How do I square the fact that Isaiah Barnes played hard in 4 minutes and Jet Howard played 38 of the emptiest minutes I've ever seen? And we're supposed to talk about accountability with this right now. Like right now, and it's not just a Jet thing. It's all the starters, but Jet's the biggest perpetrator of this. Jet is the worst defensive player effort-wise I have ever seen in my life. If he's not making threes, he is worthless on a basketball court. And he was 4 for 14 from the floor last night. He missed 6 threes in a row down the stretch of that game. He's a total nothing. And you hit the podium after and you praise the bench guy's effort. But you play your son 39 minutes. Like, I have no idea how to take him seriously anymore. Like, it's such a laughable thing for a coach to do whose mantra is competitors only. No, it's your family only, and they're not competing.
Asterisk OTF, only the family. I mean, it's crazy. This is the year for nepotism is tearing the Big Ten apart.
It's bad. I mean, one of our friends, Riley Davis, hit us with the Jim Boeheim comparison last night.
Oh my God! Oh my word!
That one hurt. It's kind of accurate though. Like right now, he doesn't care what Jet Howard does. He's playing 39 minutes. Like. And that's the problem is the team's not going to necessarily get better by replacing Jet Howard with Isaiah Barnes or Will Shetter. But like
it might,
at least it teaches Jet something. Like you got to play hard, dude. Like Jet Howard coasting through the season is going to lead to missing the NCAA tournament. So I don't know. I don't know what you do. And that applies to Hunter too. Like, I think the only starter that really doesn't apply to is Kobe. Kobe's playing hard on both ends, but it's such a problem when you have to look at your team and just be like, oh, nobody plays hard. That's where we're starting. And it's crazy to me. It's crazy. This is where this program is at compared to where it was 4 years ago, even 2 years ago under Juwan Howard. Like they're one of the best teams in the country.
Thank God that Sweet 16 happened last year for you guys. So I mean, there's starting to be murmurs and conversations about, Juwan and his coaching prowess. I mean, obviously, can't just remove a Sweet 16. It happened. Like you guys did that. You beat Colorado State, beat a really good Tennessee team too. Like that, you can't just take that away. But if you do
Yeah,
take that away, if you do take that away,
yeah, but
this is some nasty basketball.
this year it is for sure. I would again, this is sort of my pushback to me because I think Michigan State fans are rightfully so having a field day. Like I got some tweets and some texts of like, is he still the coach 2 years from now? Haha, like all this. It's very exciting. I'm sure it's very exciting. It's much more than just the Sweet 16 last year, though. Like, and we can say last year's team underachieved for sure. That's because they were a top 5 team in the country preseason because they brought in the #1 recruiting class. Like, so last year's team was not a bad basketball team, Cart. They finished 27th on KenPom. They were top 30 all season, even when they struggled. So like you're not gonna come in and act like this is, the half of Juwan Howard's career he's had bad teams at Michigan. No, this is the first year he's had a bad team in Michigan. His entire career.
You're not gonna come in here and hit me with facts like that when I hit you with comments saying that you guys stink. Okay.
I'm just like I want to correctly frame when you because you should criticize Juwan Howard. Everyone should criticize Juwan Howard, but you have to frame it correctly because if you try to frame it like, oh, he only had 1 year, the majority of his Michigan career has been bad. Nah, they were 16th on KenPom his first year. They were a top 5 team in the country, national title contender his second year. They were a top 30 KenPom team last year. And anytime he's been given a chance in the NCAA tournament, they make the second weekend. So is he on the hot seat? No, he's not on the hot seat. If this year goes completely off the rails, there's going to be some hard conversations at the end about where does the direction of the program need to go. And he has to make the right changes. He's not going to be fired if he loses every game the rest of the season, unless there's another handshake line incident, right? Like that's just the truth.
Also, at the same time, Greg, you talked about looking towards next year. Like, what's next year?
Yeah, let's do that. So my biggest issue with all of this is not that this year's team stinks, as sad as that makes me. And honestly, also, Cart, it's really hard for me to believe how unlikable this team is when you have Doug, Kobe, Jet at your 1, 2, 3. That should be one of the most likable groups ever for me on paper.
Just name wise.
Name, aesthetic, like game, everything. I love everything on paper about Doug, Kobe, Jet as the core of my team. And instead, this is the least likable Michigan team I've ever seen. I don't know who that's an indictment of, but it's somebody. But no, my bigger problem with all of this, the thing that concerns me most is that if this year's team is so bad and last year's team had similar struggles, even though they were much better metrics wise, what does Michigan look like when you remove the really talented guys? Like, I kind of think as much as I want to criticize Hunter, and I have criticized Hunter, I think Hunter Dickinson covers up a lot right now of how bad this could be.
100 million%.
Like, if he disappears and next year's center spot is Terrace Reed and Papa Conte, I mean, what happens? And like Jet could go. Jet could very easily go. If Jet's gone, there's a very real chance next year's team is Doug, Kobe, Terrence Williams, Terrace Reed, whatever guys on the bench don't transfer, 2 4-star freshmen who aren't going to be ready to play, and whoever you get in the portal.
And admissions isn't going to let you get who you want in the portal.
And that's the terrifying thing is like every year so far, there's been something to get excited about, whether it was that #1 recruiting class or whether it was, oh, they're going to get Hunter back and they're going to build around that. Like there's not much to look at going forward after this year and be like, this is going to be great. I don't even know, like, the hope would have been, oh, maybe you get Hunter back for his senior year. You convince Jet to stay. Like, do you even want that at this point? I don't know. I don't think Michigan fans do. I really don't. I think they're ready for a refresh.
I haven't looked at like an NBA draft. I mean, Jet's still a first-round pick, probably, right? Just because of just offensive ability.
I think it honestly depends where the season goes. Right this second, I think he's like a late first, mid first guy.
Wait, first. I mean, because if I'm Jet, like I got the best situation ever. No matter what I do, I'm getting 40 minutes a game, and Daddy's gonna protect me. Like I'm good. I'm not leaving. So you might get 4 years of Jet. Who knows? At
No,
least three.
it wouldn't be 4. It would be 2 max. Yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of questions that, like, obviously so many unknowns need to be answered before there, but I can't look this camera in the eye and say I'm confident Michigan makes the NCAA tournament this year or next year at this point, which is such a dooming feeling. Like, I haven't had this feeling in years.
Let me shine some light and some hope for you here, Gregory. And I don't know if you thought I was going to do this.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked myself because I didn't think I was going to go to this point, but it's time to be serious and be honest. It's not over for you guys because of the Big Ten.
Little 10.
There's not a team in the Big Ten that you guys can't beat.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's sad, though.
There's also you also could lose to every team in the Big Ten.
I saw on Torvik, if you do like the future cast, you can project what happens if you win every game, or like you could put whatever you want. If Michigan wins every single game the rest of the season, Torvik projects them as a 9 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Actually?
Yeah, which I think there's a bug there.
Wait, no way. That's got to be wrong because that would mean you guys are what,
26-5.
No, fuck no. You're not a 9 seed at 26. I mean,
they got
what?
zero quad 1 wins right now. 0. We're almost halfway through the season. They haven't beaten anybody who's going to make the tournament, Cart. Their best win is who? Pittsburgh. Best win is Pittsburgh on a neutral.
That is nasty work. That is nasty work.
It's terrifying work. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, quick rapid fire succession questions I want us both to answer. How, I'm not asking when, I'm asking how. How does Juwan Howard's tenure at Michigan end? Does he step away? If so, where does he go? Is he fired? How does it end?
I think that it's going to end after a successful stint.
Okay.
I think it's going to go from success to NBA jump.
Okay. I think he's going to depart at some point for an NBA assistant gig. I had always thought in my head it would be, he'll get a head coaching job sooner rather than later and leave. I don't know that he could get a head coaching job right now. So
okay, but on the point that I made though, is it him leaving like at the high point, or is he leaving just because not getting it done? Where you at with that?
I still think he leaves sooner rather than later. I think as soon as his sons are gone, whether that's in a year or in 3 years, I think he's out. I think when the Suns are gone, he's gone. And I mean, given what I expect that to be, I don't think there's much time to turn that around. So we'll see. I could be wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I don't get the sense that anyone, including the coach, wants to be here right now. Second question. What is Hunter Dickinson doing next season? Notice I said doing, not what uniform is he wearing. What is Hunter Dickinson doing next season, next November? Where is he and what is he doing?
He's in Ann Arbor.
Is he?
Uh-huh.
In a Michigan basketball uniform?
Mm-hmm.
Not working for Google or something? Okay.
He might be on the side, but he will be dressing up and playing for that basketball team.
I can't wait to run this by you. I'm excited for your reaction. I think I think Hunter in a Michigan uniform next year is the least likely outcome that could happen for Hunter.
Mm.
You know what I think is 60. I put 65% chance.
Please
Hunter Dickinson is in a different uniform next year in college basketball.
Ooh.
And I
really didn't even think about that. I like that.
If I had to peg where, it's BBN, baby. It's the blue and white checkers. Listen to me. Hear me out. This is not even
he's too much of a troll. Watch him go to Gonzaga.
This is not, he would never go to Gonzaga. This is not enough conspiracy. Like I swear to God, this isn't conspiracy. This is genuinely what I think is going to happen. First of all, Hunter's done at Michigan. Like the fan base is loudly turning on him. He's one of the most online guys ever. He's going to hear all of that. He's as checked out as a player can possibly be. I think like Michigan would obviously take him back, but I think for both parties, it's approaching a point of no return of just like, we've had our stay. Let's move on. Hunter can't go to the NBA. So it's either going to be go pro elsewhere, get money, or get more money and play in college basketball and be the villain somewhere. We know he likes that role. We know he's good at it. He just can't do it at Michigan anymore. Any blue blood in the country would take Hunter Dickinson. Like you go down the line, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas. If Hunter Dickinson put his name in the portal, all three of those coaches are calling him within seconds and offering him millions with an S. Like, it's a no-brainer to me. And I think if, God forbid, I mean, you put John Calipari in April in a room with Hunter Dickinson. I literally witnessed Cal meeting with Oscar last year. It was at the bar that we did the Field of 68 shows at. You guys all went to lunch, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Cal's like literally writing a check to Oscar right now. He's getting him back. If you put Hunter in that room with Cal at the end of the season, it's a done deal in seconds that he goes to Kentucky. So that's my thought. I think I'd put it at a 65% chance he's in a different uniform next year. 20% chance he just moves on, goes pro somewhere, and maybe like a 10% chance he's back in Michigan.
I didn't even think about that angle. And he would love the transfer portal like saga too. He would be eating that shit up.
Honestly, it's what's best for both parties at this point, which is crazy. I'm saying that.
Is it best for Michigan really though?
I think they need a reset.
You guys need you need Hunter Dickinson on the floor next year.
I think they need a reset, Cart. I really do. And I know that sounds crazy because I'm saying like we're taking Hunter for granted. I'm with that. He covers up a lot of what could be worse about this team. But look, if you're gonna be bad, at least be likable. And right now, this team, no matter how good Hunter Dickinson is, this team's gonna be horrible. They just are. And I've seen enough of this for 2 years to know that Hunter is a large part of the problem. And you can say it like the basketball stuff is one thing. Hunter's a great basketball player. He ain't a leader. He ain't a good teammate. Like all of the effort, accountability stuff to me starts with Hunter. And he sets a really, really bad tone for everybody right now. So I'd be perfectly fine at this point right now, approaching January 1st, 2023. I mean, I would be A-okay with a firm handshake to Hunter at the end of the year. That's a lovely, lovely picture. Is that your new background?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right, Cart. Congrats. Are you guys, is the Breslin Center hanging a banner for this one or?
No, I think we're just getting jokes off just because honestly, it's not even because of Michigan as a team. It's just that, out of nowhere, we're getting memes sent at us by Marty douchebag Mush, like about, that they live rent free in our heads and things like that. So once again, just you're going to open yourself up to jokes. And it's really just jokes at this point, because at the same time, like you ever seen that picture, that meme where it's like that guy and he's like flexing, he's like working out kind of, and then this after picture is like kind of exactly the same, except the room's like a little bit darker.
Yeah.
That's like Michigan State is kind of like the darker version. I mean, probably we're not that close to you guys. We're not that much better either. Like we're 8-4 right now.
Yeah. No, specific to this year, I think both teams are pretty bad. Michigan State's definitively
Me too.
better,
I think it sucks as a whole. Like it's better for there's a direct correlation between us saying the Big Ten is down and Michigan State and Michigan being down. Like that's what it is.
These two programs have been Big Ten basketball for the better part of a decade. You want to know why it's bad this year? Because Michigan State aren't good this year. But again, that said, Michigan State is definitively better than Michigan. I'm just Like, let's not pretend Michigan State's something they're not right now in celebrating how bad Michigan is. The difference though, Cart,
Hey, if we lost to Central though, the victory laps would
maybe
be
out.
exactly the same.
The difference is you guys have a lot to look forward to. Whereas I don't know as a Michigan basketball fan, what am I supposed to look forward to right now? There were 35 people in the stands at that game. Like, and those 35 probably are just looking for something to do before the TCU game. Nobody cares. Nobody cares right now.
Can I say one last thing on this?
Please.
That was my nephew's first Michigan basketball game.
I'm so sorry. I'm laughing.
Lee's son Parker. That was his very first Michigan game. Like, I got a picture of him with a certificate that they give out to like little kids at their very first Michigan games, and he has a certificate, and that's what he got treated to.
Did you
That's messed
Photoshop
up.
it? Did you Photoshop it with the NIT yet, or is that an uncle?
No, but I got like the crying Jordan meme on it. But I that's just for my own personal laughter. No one else can laugh at my nephew besides me.
Yeah, Carter asked me for the classic Carter enjoy the NIT picture from last year. I told him that it's
Hey, that's
unavailable
you
right
should
now.
have sent it to me. That turned your season around last year.
It's unavailable right now, my friend.
Except I posted that photo after you guys lost to a really good Illinois team.
Correct. Hey,
Bad execution by me.
We're gonna go to Ann Arbor this year. You'll get another chance to recreate said picture. I'm sure, my friend. We'll see. All right. Thanks for doing this. We're going to talk Illinois next in another video on the channel. Tune in sometime next week to see if I'm suicidal about Michigan yet.